Merhaba arkadaşlar, hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün Thornton-Donovan School ile ABD New York'ta ortaokul ve lise eğitimi, avantajları ve ücretlerini Justin'den dinliyor olacağız. Lütfen sorularınızı questions kısmından sormayı unutmayın. Yes, Justin, the stage is yours now.
Okay, great. Well, welcome everyone. I know you can see me. I can't quite see you, but I hope that you're all doing well. My name is Justin Pizzo. I'm a teacher here at Thornton-Donovan School, and so I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about our school. First of all, I want to thank you for your interest in attending this webinar and considering education with us. I hope that you'll find that we're a very unique school. So I'm going to begin a little presentation that I have, and then at the end, there should be a good amount of time for Q&A. So I'd like to just get right into that. So let me present. Okay, great. And I believe that Zainab, can you confirm that you're able to see the screen there?
Yes, we can see, Justin. It's loading.
Okay, good. Great, yeah, it's still showing loading for me. Oop, I started at the end there, so I'll have to get back to the beginning. I'm sorry about that. Good. So I'd like to start with Thornton-Donovan School. This is a picture of the front of our school building here. We're kind of a nice, pretty brick building. We're located in a residential neighborhood. So the main building of our school actually used to be a rather large home. And so welcome to our webinar today on June 17th. And just a few basic facts about Thornton-Donovan School to start off. We were founded in 1901, which means I believe we're going into our 120th year, so that's quite exciting. We're a K through 12 school, which means kindergarten through 12th grade. So that's the kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, and high school. We're college preparatory, which means that the program basically is to prepare students to go on to colleges and universities. I'm not sure exactly the way that those words translate. I know even in English they're used differently in the US and say in the UK. But for example, colleges and universities in the US are what we would consider higher education. So we prepare students to go on to higher education, university education. And the vast majority, when I say vast majority, I'm talking about something like, high 90% of our students will go on to colleges and universities. We're located in the city of New Rochelle in the state of New York. So that's about a 45-minute train ride from the center of Manhattan. So I don't know if you are quite familiar with New York geography, but Manhattan would be the central part of New York. So we're about 45 minutes from the center of what you would think of as New York City by train. So we're at the same time close, but we're kind of not too close. So as you can kind of see, this is our school campus. We have a field behind the main school building. So what you saw earlier was on the other side of this building. We're in a residential neighborhood in Beachmont, which is one of the nicer areas of New Rochelle. So there's a lot there. We're accredited by Cognia, so you can look us up on their website. And if I mention our school as TD, I just want you to be aware, we typically abbreviate our name Thornton-Donovan to TD. The name Thornton-Donovan was taken from the last names of two figures who were instrumental during the early years of our school. Okay, and then two keywords. So that's kind of a basic introduction, and we call it a spiel, right? My little speech here about the school is going to focus on two keywords. I want to tell you first about our school, and then I'll tell in general, because our school is not quite the typical American school. So I'll tell you a little bit about our school using these keywords, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the process of becoming and being an international student at our school. The two keywords I want to talk about are individual and international, right? And so what does individual mean? Individual means that we are a small school. Okay, so we started in 1901 as a local school, right? Local, basically kindergarten, and over the years we grew into high school. We have been for many, many years now, the K through 12 school. However, we've kept our class sizes pretty small. So for example, this past year, we're just finishing one of our school years. So this past school year, we had about 110 students throughout all grades K through 12. I just checked the numbers this morning. In high school, we had about 50 students in the high school, and that's grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. So if you average that out for those 4 grades, that's probably about 12, 13 students per high school grade. So education is very individual. And I have some more things we can talk about that, and then international. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So with the small class sizes, you know, the teachers are really able to know the students. I think some of my larger classes are about 12 students. Some of my, I think my smallest class is about 3 students. So of course, when you have a class of 3 students, you get to know the students very well. They all have much time to respond in class. And I think that's valuable for any student, right? But also for international students, because you know that you're not getting lost in a crowd of other people. You know, if you're one of, say, 8 students, the teacher definitely knows you. The teacher knows where you're struggling. The teacher it kind of is there and knows you, right? And the teachers in general can be approachable, right? You can go see a teacher at lunch. You can go see a teacher, whatever, right? And so there's that sense of really being able to know one another, teacher and student. Students also have a large amount of choice that they can exercise over their class schedule. And so what this means is that, right, each student is going to come to the school with particular talents and particular interests and a particular, hopefully, I mean, I imagine that if a lot of students are thinking of coming to the US, they're probably thinking of going on to college or university in the US. And so if they're thinking of that, they might have a particular field in mind that they desire to pursue. And so there's we allow a good amount of choice over the schedule. So if you have a student, for example, who wants to go into the sciences, that student can take more science classes here, as opposed to kind of having to have everything equal. One thing that we do offer is, and I'll get to this later, but we offer, this past year, we've offered 6 world languages, French, Italian, Spanish, Latin, and Russian. I'm sorry, 5, Latin and Russian. So we also have the ability, teachers could do Greek. We have a teacher who could do Japanese. So, you know, we like to offer languages. I think the primary example of this is we have a 9th grade student who wants to be an astronaut at NASA. And the student knows that in order to do that, there's going to be not only the science requirement, but also it's an international environment. You need multiple foreign languages. So this student has a program. Her class schedule is very heavily invested both in science and in foreign language. And so with that, you know, the choice over the classes allows you to pursue those interests and talents. And of course, we encourage students to pursue whatever interests and talents they might have outside of the classroom as well. Also, because everything is so small, the students often are socializing across multiple grade levels. So it's not necessarily that you'll be locked in. You're in 9th grade, you're in 10th grade, you're in 11th grade, you're in 12th grade. But the students are kind of eating lunch together. They might form friend groups across 1 or 2 grades, even more sometimes. And even down to lower grade levels, there's at least a face recognition. Students might even, you know, students kind of know who's at the school, more or less. Okay, so that's what I mean by individual. The next part, international. And I like to break this down, and I like to say international is who we are, and it's what we do. Who we are, of course, the kind of the thing that we're here to talk about is the international students, right? So this past year with COVID, unfortunately, we haven't had a large or really any population of international students. They returned home at the end of the previous school year when the pandemic broke out. However, prior to that, our international students mostly came from China and Korea. And I believe we had about, say, 8 international students. And so I just want to put that in perspective. That's mostly in the high school. And if we're talking, 8 doesn't sound like a big number, but if you're talking about a high school of 50 students, right, and so you add 8 onto that, you're talking not quite a sixth of the high school is international students, which is a pretty significant number. So the international students really do affect kind of the DNA, the makeup of the school, what we're able to do. And, you know, we think that the international students being here is valuable, hopefully both for the international student and for the American students who are here, in that they get to kind of have this exchange on a daily basis. With that said, however, there's a great diversity even within what you would consider the local student body. So what do I mean by that? For example, even among local students, we're next to New York. So there are multiple families who say are not originally US citizens or maybe connected to diplomatic missions of of one country in particular. We have a diplomatic, there's a couple diplomatic missions, and we can get children from those diplomatic missions. So even within the local population, there are non-US citizens. And then, of course, finally, within even the US citizens, there's a great diversity. I mean, this is New York City, so you can have, you know, the wide variety of ethnic diversity that even kind of US citizens display in New York City. And then lastly is international faculty. This past year, we had teachers, we ended the year with teachers from originally, some of them have been in the US for many, many years, Albania, Belgium, Wales, Croatia, Ukraine. So we have faculty from a bunch of different countries. And so they help. I think that when we're talking about international students, what they can help with is they understand kind of some of the same struggles that these students are going through. And I would say also, you know, and I say struggles, you know, not because I hope that school is a struggle, but because there are struggles, culture shock and things like that are associated with coming to a different country to study. Even the faculty who's not international have had, in general, some experience teaching the international students because we have had international students for so long. Or you have teachers, for example, I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I lived abroad for some years, and so I'm able to bring my own experiences to help understand what that is, even though I'm new at the school. So I think that those experiences of the faculty are valuable. And then we have what I call experiential learning. So this is what we do. And experiential learning is kind of what I like to call it. And what do I mean by this? That education is not just something that takes place in the classroom. In the classroom, you learn something, you go out into the world, you apply it, and then you bring it back into the classroom and you kind of learn kind of how to assimilate that material, how to understand it. So we do this kind of 3 major ways that much of them are involved with international experience, intercultural exchange. We have what we call thematic education and travel study. So every year we pick a country or region of the world or some other historical figure or something like that. And towards the end of the school year in May, there's a school trip that would be arranged for about 2 weeks that students, faculty, it's not mandatory, of course, right? It's kind of an extra, so to speak, but it's also really not an extra in that it sets the tone for the whole of what we do during the school year. And so students, faculty, headmaster, parents sometimes will go on these travel studies and then come back. And so it's a kind of really 2-week thing. We spend the whole year more or less preparing for that. So for example, 2 years, I think, well, this year we weren't able to travel much because of COVID. Our theme though was the moon, and so we were able actually to take people down. There was a launch of the SpaceX rocket in Florida, so we traveled domestically to Florida. In more recent years, we've been to Mongolia, and next year we're looking at kind of Italy and Mediterranean. And so that'll set the theme for the year in terms of the courses that are offered. So in addition to kind of the standard, you know, algebra, biology, chemistry, physics, English literature that are on offer, we also have what are called thematic classes. So these will be geared towards the particular area of the world that we're studying that year. So for example, during the year that we did Mongolia, you might find, for example, Central Asian history, which is something that might be interesting to those from Turkey. And that course is going to be offered that year, but it kind of forms an interesting point of reference for the students, even as they go on to, say, maybe a more generic world history class. And so next year, for example, will be Italy. What courses are going to be on offer is still being discussed, but they'll be probably geared more towards that direction. Then, of course, we have exchange programs. So these are basically exchange programs between us and sister schools, where we send students for maybe 10 days and we receive students for 10 days. Two of our kind of more consistent programs that we've had recently are with a city in Italy and one in Japan, or towns. And so those exchange programs are also open to international students if they want to participate in those. And then, of course, lastly, we have New York City and a wide range of interesting things next to us. So field trips are always a possibility and something that we like to do. Okay, so that ends my little spiel about the school. I imagine you have very many questions, but we'll get to those at the end. I want to talk a little bit about what being an international student at TD will look like. You're going to be in the same academic program as the US students. So you're going to be in the same classes as the US students. You're not going to be segregated, with the one exception that if you come and you are a student that needs a little bit extra help. Up till now, what we've typically had is an ESL class that is available to those students, but whether it's that or whether it's another solution, like, for example, taking grammar in the middle school to kind of bolster English ability, that would be something that is definitely an option. That said, right, your international students are taking the same academic program as the US students. They have the same options for the basic classes, biology, chemistry, English literature, algebra, whatever, and they have the same opportunity to take foreign languages, to take thematic courses, all that kind of stuff. As I've mentioned, it's college preparatory. I've touched a little bit on the English options that would be available. And then lastly, perhaps the most important thing to mention is that there's a homestay. So we are a day school, which means we are not a boarding school. So all international students stay in homestays. The ideal would be that you stay with a family who also has children at the school, but that's not always something that's an option. And if not, they'll be placed with other local families. I think the furthest that we've housed someone is about a 30-minute car drive from the school. So that's our homestay. Homestay includes, right, obviously a room. It includes 3 meals a day, basically, right? Your meals, your food, and it includes transportation to and from the school. And so the homestay, right? Part of what can be good about that is if you're looking for a place to really do kind of total English language and American culture immersion, the homestay is really valuable, right? In a boarding school, you might be with other international students or even just with other students, but in a homestay, you kind of get that sense of American life, American home life. English, you really do have to do everything in English. So there can be some benefits to the homestay as well, if that's something that you're looking into. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about the international admissions criteria, right? So obviously, we're looking for students who have shown academic excellence or who have special talents. The documents that we want to see are your transcript from your current school and 2 letters of recommendation. That said, when we're looking at academic excellence, we're a small school. That small school allows us some flexibility, right? We're not necessarily looking, right? Do you have exactly this many points in this many classes, right? We're looking overall, do you show the potential for academic excellence? Do you show the potential to really develop some special talent? So that we don't have a set, you need to meet this threshold, but we're looking for someone who overall can be confident in proclaiming their academic excellence. Similarly with English ability, if you have taken an English standardized test, we would want to see those scores, but there is not We do not require a particular English test to be taken, and there is no necessary minimum that you must meet on any given test. That said, related to the next item I have on their maturity, you are going to be housed in an American homestay. You are going to be in classes with other students, listening to teachers give instruction in English. And so you need to have a certain level of English ability to be able to understand and to function in that environment. That said, we have had students come to our school with somewhat limited English ability, and you give them a month or two, and they're really opening up, and they're able to, kind of function pretty well. So we understand that is part of the process of kind of acclimating to a new environment, right? But if there is no English test off of which we can judge English ability, we would definitely require. In general, we want to have an interview with the student before they come. I think that's definitely good for us. Hopefully it's good for the students as well. But especially in the case that there are no English scores for us to look at, that's a requirement. Because in the interview, we would gauge, is this student able to, handle conversation on a level that is needed to function here. And maturity, this mostly probably affects the younger students. We would accept students as young as middle school. Typically, we mostly want the high school, but we can do middle school as well. So especially in that case, the student needs to show a certain level of maturity. As I said, you're going to be living in a homestay, right? We don't need, you can't be playing loud music in your room at 11 o'clock at night and disturbing everyone else in the house, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Maturity is kind of basic etiquette, ability to live well with other people. Okay, and so thank you very much for listening to my presentation. I think we still have a good, hopefully 20 minutes or so, maybe a little more, for questions and answer. And actually, I'm available basically until we need to stop. So if those of you want to stay longer and ask more questions, I'm perfectly available to do that. And over on the right-hand side here, I've put some contact information. So just to explain a little bit about our structure, we have a headmaster, who's Mr. Douglas Fleming. The director of admissions is Mr. Alan Goodman, and I myself, you can kind of consider me the international representative. So for those of you kind of contacting us internationally, I can be your first point of contact, and then of course documents. And as the process goes along, you will have to be in touch with at least the headmaster and probably also the director of admissions, right? So that is, those are the three people that you're going to kind of need to know. But again, you can always feel free to reach out to myself with any questions, with any things like that. I can be your first point of contact. And then once we really begin the process of admissions, I'm going to kind of turn you over to the rest of the crew. And then we have a website, www.td.edu. You can feel free to check us out. There's actually you can see my screen here. So this is our website. If you go to the admissions link and you click apply to Thornton-Donovan, or if you click admissions, it'll take you to this page. Sorry, it'll take you to this page, and we have a shared page right now for the domestic and international applications, but it does mention some of the stuff that I talked about as well. I think lastly, I would also want to note that the tuition for school, I don't know how that slipped out of the PowerPoint, but the combined tuition for both the academic program and the homestay together is $52,000 US, and then there's an application fee of $100. So that is where we are. I think you can now see me as I've stopped sharing my screen. So I'm done with my presentation, and I'd like to take some questions. I think Zeynep will help me out there.
Yes, thank you very much for your great presentation, Justin. So our first question is from Nejati, and he is asking, do you have any Turkish students?
Thank you, Necati. No, we have not had any Turkish students in the past, but we're open to basically receiving anyone regardless of, national origin, religion, all that kind of stuff. So we're open to anybody who wants to attend our school.
All right. And our next question is, do you have any dorms for foreign students?
No, we do not have a dormitory. We are not a boarding school, so all foreign students will be staying in homestays.
Okay. The other question is, do you have any joint dual degree or transfer student programs with Turkish high schools?
No, we do not. We are always interested in more international exchange. So if you know something and you'd be willing to reach out to us and want to organize something like that, possibly with your school, I don't know how involved you are or not. We're certainly willing to have that discussion. But no, at the moment we do not.
Okay. And our next question is from Sema, and she is asking, what is the student-teacher ratio and how big are the classes?
Thank you, Sema. I don't have off the top of my head a student-teacher ratio. What I can tell you is that, hold on. Hello, did you lose me for a second?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. So Sema, thank you very much for your question. Like I was saying, I don't have a student-teacher ratio off the top of my head. Most of our classes, at least with our class sizes, keeping in mind our school now is about 110 students. We have been as high as about 175 students. Where we are now, probably the biggest class size is around, say, 15, 16. When we were at 175 students, biggest class size would be 25 students around that number. And, I can say, like I said, I have many different classes this year, ranging from the elementary school to the high school. My largest classes are about 12. My smallest classes are about 3 students. So I think in the high school, and I teach foreign language, I did Spanish this year. So I think you'll find that at least with foreign languages, your high school classes are probably going to be, say, 6 students or fewer, especially as you get up the levels. Obviously, for something that's a little bit more, say, popular or everyone is mandated to take, like the sciences or history, you're probably looking at class sizes more like that 15, 16, something like that. I don't know all the exact numbers, but I hope that helps answer your question.
Yes, that's good to know. And our next question is from Jada, and she is asking, is it possible transferring from second year of a high school from Turkey?
Thank you, Jada. Yes, we accept people at basically any level. The only thing I would say is we recommend if you're planning to go to an American college or university, you probably want to be here for at least 2 years, which would be the final years. But we accept anyone from any position that they are. So only if you're kind of in your last year and you're thinking about going to college or university, I would say we would probably want 2 years. I can say about our college, I know this isn't quite the direction you're going, but about our kind of college admissions process, university admissions process in the United States, not necessarily our school, you're typically starting that in the first half of your last year of high school. And so a lot of your exams that are going to be required for application, you might want to be doing in the summer or even the spring of the year before. Now, again, if you're really on top of that, it's possible in an exceptional case to take someone only for the 1 year for the last year. But typically it would be good to have 2 years, especially if you need to acclimate, get used to an American school, that kind of thing. But yes, you can transfer from the second year. I don't know the Turkish system very well, Zeynep. Do you have 4 years of high school, or how many years of high school do you have?
We have 4 years.
Okay, so yeah, if you're transferring from the second year, you would probably meet that. You would probably be fine there. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for your answer. Necati is asking again, do you have any representatives in Turkey?
Good. Thank you, Necati. I'm not 100% sure what you mean by representative. If you mean kind of someone from the school who can represent, kind of like a student agency or anything like that, I don't believe we have a relationship with anyone in Turkey. And if you mean someone on the ground in Turkey, I don't believe that we have that either.
Oh, yes, and he's asking about your email contact information. Also, could you please share your email in the chat box?
Okay, good. So let me go to chat, and I will put my email address there. Give me one moment while I figure this out. There we go. And thank you, everyone, from your greetings that I'm just seeing now. And there we are. Okay, so my email address is jpizzo@td.edu. That's jpizzo@td.edu. I think did that just go?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.
And our next question is from Zatiye, and she is asking, can parents get involved at the school?
Thank you, Zatiye. Yes, of course. In fact, that's something we would definitely desire. Any talents that you have, anything that you can bring to us would be good. I don't know exactly what you're envisioning. We do have a PTP, which is a parent-teacher partnership. I don't know how involved. So, for example, are you? I don't know exactly what you're asking, so maybe I'll ask this and we can get a follow-up. Are you talking about how can parents be involved even from Turkey, or are you envisioning that you would be here locally as well? If you can answer that question, maybe I can give you a little bit more, a better answer there. But we do have a parent-teacher partnership, and they do various events, a lot of fundraising type stuff. We also have various events throughout the school year. Generally, obviously, this year with COVID, it's been a bit different. That we would love for parents to attend. One of our things that we do is we call it the Arts House Cafe. So it's basically a performance that we put on about 4 times a year. Typically it's musical performances, but especially at the last one of the year. We'll also have, say, sometimes students from language classes might participate, read a poem or something like that. We have had a fashion class, and the fashion class would present, say, kind of their dresses, do a little runway show at the Arts House Cafe. And so obviously parents we would love to have parents not help out if they wanted to, but also even just attend those kind of those events. So yes, there are definitely ways to get involved, but if you can give me a little bit more clarification on whether you're talking about involvement from Turkey or involvement from the US, that might be something to follow up on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your answer again. And our next question is from Ece, and she is asking, what is the sports culture like at the school?
Thank you, Ece. So yeah, so basically, in terms of the facilities we have, now keep in mind also we are a small school, we have about 110 students. So what that means is it can be difficult to kind of field a team. So we don't, unlike larger schools, kind of go out necessarily and participate in competitions. There was a movement to do some of that, but please keep in mind that we are still a small school, so it can be difficult to do that. We also need somebody to organize it. There has been talk about basketball starting up in the fall to do something. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like. In terms of our facilities, we have a field for students to play on, and then we also have I believe it's a full basketball court. That can also be used for volleyball. So the students do love to play basketball on their lunch breaks, whether it's a full game or whether it's kind of just shooting hoops and that kind of stuff. They love to play on their breaks. And then the field is kind of open as well for that kind of stuff. But we are a small school. So in terms of sports culture, I wouldn't say that we're definitely not the typical American school in that regard.
Thank you for your answer. Mm-hmm. And our next question is from Faiza, and she is asking, is legal guardianship compulsory? Does it have to do the students have to be a U.S. citizen?
Thank you very much, Faiza, for that question. That's a very good question. I would want to follow up on that with our administration to double check any legal requirements. When you're talking about legal guardianship, I'm presuming that you're talking about when your son or daughter comes to the U.S., who's going to be kind of responsible for them in your place. if that's correct, again, I do want to double check on that, but I do know that there are a possible case, for example, I know you asked, does it have to be a U.S. citizen? Are you talking, for example, about like a family member, like if you may have an uncle here? In that case, I don't think it would have to be a U.S. citizen necessarily. So I wonder if the language that we would use might be a little bit different. One term that you'll hear is the phrase in loco parentis, which I'll put in the chat. And that's a fancy Latin phrase for kind of in the place of the parent. So that kind of authority is something that would probably be necessary. But again, I don't want to speak too much.
Justin, can you hear us?
Hello, I apologize for the internet connection there, but I think
right.
Back up there. So yes, if you would kindly send me an email to that email address I put there asking the same question, I will follow up with you personally regarding that.
Thank you for your answer. And our next question is from Jada, and she's asking, do you offer any summer camp at your campus for international students?
Thank you, Jada. If you're talking about an English language summer camp, that's not what we have. What we do have is more of a local thing. We call it the Summer Challenge Camp, and it's more of kind of an elementary to middle school day camp, more kind of arts and crafts, sports and things like that, not necessarily English. If a student is more advanced, we have a summer school. And the summer school, right, keeping in mind that we are a relatively small and flexible institution, if you have an individual, if you have a student or preferably a group of students, it would have to be kind of worked out a customizable program. It's possible that there could be some instruction that takes place over the summer, but we don't have an English language kind of educate and a summer camp that is meant to educate in the English language. No, we do not have that.
Yes, thank you for your answer. Mm-hmm. And our next question is from Ece, and she's asking, can you inform us about the admission process?
Thank you very much, Ece. Yes, so the admissions process, so basically there's an application form, and I think, Zeynep, that I might be able to follow up with everyone. Is it possible to send kind of a few documents to everyone after the webinar?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so I'll be able to send to you a kind of package which will include the application form. And so with the application form, plus the transcript, the letters of recommendation, and English scores if they are, you would submit those documents. You can submit them to me. Ultimately, I'm going to forward them to the Director of Admissions, but as I said, I can be your point of contact. So if you want to contact me, send that along. We can get the process started. And then basically there will be a decision made. There will be an interview. So you'll hear from us regarding the interview. All final decisions on enrollment rest with the headmaster. So he would be making that decision. And of course, if we have questions, there will kind of be a back and forth. Once that decision is made, a $10,000 US dollar deposit. And I say deposit, but really what that is it goes towards the tuition, is due. And then we begin the immigration paperwork process. And then prior to beginning the school year, the full year's tuition is due. So again, we are kind of a small and flexible school. So there's not really a huge admissions process, but basically there would be that decision making, there would be an initial payment, and then we would begin the immigration paperwork. So I hope that answers your question. If not, please ask us a follow-up.
Yes, thank you for your answer. And our last question is from Sema, and she is asking, it seems like people start living without masks in New York. The fall academic year would be on campus totally. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much, Sema, for your question. And it's kind of humbling to see how important New York is in the world, that other people would be paying attention to us. Yes, the masks can be removed in most settings in New York if the person is vaccinated. Is my understanding of the law, that then there are many situations where there are some situations where the masks are still required, but yes, things are opening up. 70%, my understanding is, of I'm not sure if it's the adult or the total population of New York has received at least one dose of vaccine. So things are very much opening up in New York. But one thing I would like to say is, even with the masks on, even with, some other measures, we were open in September last year. We very much believe in being in person for education. Not that there has not been any hiccups or challenges, but we have been in person this last year as well. This past year, we have also had the option for students to be remote, if they felt that was necessary for their situation. But we believe in person, right? As you can imagine, we're a small school, we're personal, we like to be with our students. For example, I say I had 3 students in class, but 2 of them are here, 1 is remote, and so, yeah, we've been open during COVID, and we intend to be open next year. I think there's some decision as to exactly what is going to be on offer in terms of remote next year. I don't know that that's been finalized yet, but yes, basically we will be open. That's our intention, to be open, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we believe in being open. We've basically been open, and we intend to be open.
Yes, thank you for your answers, Justin. I think we covered all of the questions.
Great. Okay. So, and I know we're almost at our original time. So like I said, I can stay if there are any additional questions. So if you have, please ask now. But if not, I just want to thank everyone for your attendance and all those of you who asked questions. I hope that you've enjoyed this presentation. I look forward to hearing from some of you. If any of you have follow-up questions or are interested, please send me an email. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for your great presentation, Justin. We believe it was a really informative webinar for the attendees, and we had a lot of questions and you covered them all. Thank you for your answers.
Great, thank you.
Also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well.
Absolutely.
Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Thornton-Donovan School ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için Justin'in paylaşmış olduğu mail adresinden iletişime geçebilirsiniz. Aynı zamanda sizi altıdaki webinarımıza da davet etmek isteriz. Thank you very much again, Justin. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.